Hi, Antje. I'm so happy to have you here today, and it's so amazing to have you on this podcast. And for everyone who doesn't know you already, it would be amazing if you could quickly or even longer, as you wish, introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. You say for everybody who doesn't know me yet, or not, yeah. I think there are so many people who don't know me. I don't think I'm famous. Anyway, my name is Antje. I live on the beautiful little tiny rock island of Gozo, which is the little tiny island that belongs to Malta, Republic of Malta, in the middle of the Mediterranean. And what I'm doing here is freediving and yoga. Freediving not so much at the moment because of the restrictions, but I do teach yoga. So my main business or my main things I'm doing in life is teaching freediving and teaching yoga. Maybe that sums it up very briefly.
So, what I would love to know, and probably everyone else listening, is how did you come into yoga and freediving? Like, was there a certain moment in your life, or was it like a process? So, could you share a bit more of this?
I think it was a quite logical process that started, I think, when I was born, or even before I was born. I've always been a water person. My star sign is Pisces, and I cannot remember not having been in the water. So from early childhood on, I loved splashing and playing around in water. And I could swim very well far before I went to school. And then I found myself more underwater than on the surface at some point. At that time, I didn't know how to equalize, so I was always surprised when my ears hurt horribly. But I sorted that then after a while when my father told me, yes, you have to equalize. So that was sorted then at some point as well. And so I always wanted to dive. I always wanted to spend time underwater. And freediving and snorkeling was always something that fascinated me. And in the end, then I started scuba diving at some point, because there was, in my life, there was a point where I had suddenly some regular work and I could go to a diving club and learn how to scuba dive. And so I combined that just with snorkeling and became an instructor and helped out in the club. And then more and more the snorkeling came back, and more snorkeling, and I started diving down more. And then there was a freediving club around here in Gozo that came from the UK, and I started freediving courses. So I then learned properly how to freedive, and that opened up a whole new world, because until now I thought freediving is, just dive down, have fun and come up again. And then I noticed, no, there's so much more that belongs to freediving, and I felt much more what freediving is about. And the yoga had come into my life before that already. I started practicing, I started going to some lessons here on the island, and had practiced a little bit already when I was still in Germany. And so that became more and more my own daily routine. And then I started teaching as well a little bit, combine it with the freediving I was teaching anyway already, because freediving and yoga is just a great combination, because they have a bridge, and the bridge is breathing. And so as water is one of my passions, I would say breathing is another one. And in combination on top of it, it is yoga. And altogether, it just makes a lot of sense for, I think, everybody in life. So yes, I started teaching yoga, and then I started practicing again more for myself, and not teaching so much anymore, just in combination with the freediving. And then there was another point in my life, and it was actually a point where my dear dog died, and I thought, now is the time to do my yoga teacher training. And why did I choose that when my dog died, or our dog died? It was, I didn't have her anymore to look after, so I was a bit freer in what to do in my free time, and I decided, so now it's the right time to leave for a little bit longer, the island, for a month or a bit longer, in order to be able to do this yoga teacher training. And so I did. And that was in, I can't remember, 4 years ago or something, and I did my yoga teacher training. So now I'm a freediving instructor and yoga teacher, and I love the combination.
So, like, how can we imagine what did Antje do before yoga and freediving?
Right before that, I lived already here on Gozo. I moved to Gozo in 2004, and I worked as a scuba diving instructor when I was here on the island. Before that, I lived in Germany. And you want to know what I did in Germany or what I did here in Germany? My original background is the hotel industry. So I have a degree in hotel, what is it called, hotel business, and so-called Hotelfachfrau in German. So I did just a classic apprenticeship of 3 years in the hotel industry. Then I did like a business school in the hotel industry and worked in marketing and sales for a hotel chain. And then I started combining that as well with event management. So this is actually my business background, hotel and events and marketing and sales a little bit.
So how was the shift then from being in the hotel industry and events and the marketing? How was the shift? Like, was there some moment when you decided, well, I quit, I want to become a scuba diver? Or how did it happen, the process, and how did it feel for you in this moment?
The idea at that point actually was to do and to have a sort of sabbatical. And when I chose to come to Malta or to Gozo to work as a scuba diving instructor, the idea was to stay for half a year and then maybe go back into my former job. At that point, I was not working in the hotel industry as such, but in a pharmaceutical company. And in that company, they were not very familiar with the idea of sabbatical. And then I said, okay, if you don't want me to come back, then I just quit the job and see if I come back to some other job later in Germany. So I came over here for a test. I wanted to see how it is to work in the diving industry. And first winter I went back to Germany and then made up my mind that it was pretty good here and that I liked it a lot. So I moved back the next year. And then since then, it's history, as you say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a big and amazing step you did there, and I know like there are many people in my audience also who are probably thinking, wow, I would love to do that. I would love to just teach yoga or become a coach full time. But they probably have the fear inside of them that if they quit the job, that this safe job is gone. So do you have any tips or any personal things you would like to share? What made it, well, easier for you?
What made it easy in the first place was Gozo had joined the EU the same year when I started my time here on the island. So that made it very easy. I never had the idea to tingle around the world because that would have been too much for my brain and I would have been scared or afraid to get out of the system as such, you know. So for me, that decision was easy because I knew, I stay within the EU, I stay within the system, sort of. So that made it easy. That was one point. Then the next thing here, especially in Malta, English is the second official language, so language-wise it was easy. I was thinking about Italy, but then I would have needed to learn the language, and even that was, at that point, a too big barrier for me personally. So in the end, I had the feeling I made it quite easy for myself because I knew within the EU, it's easy with the social system. I can always go back and it's not such a big step. When people ask me, oh, you have left the country, you have left Germany, have you left it for good? Will you stay forever? And I said, first, I haven't left Germany. And I say, for me, it was not leaving Germany. For me, it was moving within the EU. And this made it a different process in my head. And often people, when they then hear this, it makes the decision probably easier because most of the things we are afraid of are up in our head. It's not the situation out there, it's what we make out of it. And if we have a different perception on those things, then it becomes easier. So as I said, I've not left Germany, and if there there's a good reason to go back, I will go back. It's not that I don't like the country or that I didn't like my work or my life there. Contrary, I loved what I did there. I just wanted to try out something new. And I went here always with the idea in mind, whenever I want to go back, I just go back. So there's not really the risk that it sounds like to be. No, it's not. So I think in most cases the risk is more up in our head. And when we make up our head, then things become easy.
Yeah, it's definitely like that. And like usually the kind of problem is if you start telling yourself many things, you start like really believing in it. And I think like in yoga, it's an amazing practice if you combine yoga like you do with not just yoga, but also with like deeper, like let's say deeper lessons you can learn in life. And I would totally love to talk to you more about this. So I know you do amazing yoga classes because I have joined so many myself, and I think it's because of you that I also started to become a yoga teacher myself.
Amazing that you did that.
So, like, what it is there something you especially love about yoga? Like, I know it's not only about health or anything, but it's way deeper about a nice body or anything. And it's also what you always try to help people understand. So what is it that you love especially about yoga?
What do I love a lot about yoga? Well, that's a broad question. I wonder where I can start. I think I love it more and more because it comes into all and every aspect of life. And I mean of life, not of my life or your life or anybody's life, but life in general. Life is yoga, yoga is life, you could say. So that sounds like, oh yeah, this is this broad thing, but nobody understands what I really mean. As you have been to my yoga classes, you get more an idea of it. Because if I go on the yoga mat, this is the Western idea. And I've just written a blog post about it, by the way, yoga asana. This is what I call it the Western world, we call yoga. And this is only one little aspect of yoga, but a very important one and a very approachable one, because we work with our body when we go on the yoga mat. Some of you who might not be that familiar with yoga might think, oh, this is, yeah, I do exercise on the yoga mat. And I get fit and I get healthy and my mind calms down and I'm more flexible and whatever. And these are all very important aspects of yoga and of the yoga that we do on the yoga mat. The nice thing and the thing I love about yoga and even just the yoga practice on the yoga mat, the physical aspect, is that I not only work on my body, so on the physical body that I can see and that I can see and perceive with my eyes and that others can see with their eyes, but I go deeper on a deeper level on a physical way. So I work on my inner organs, I work on my endocrine system, on my nervous system, and on my energy system. And in yoga we call these as well bodies, but it's different layers of the body. And so in the end, the way I look on the outside is a side effect that I create when I do my yoga exercises on the mat. The actual thing that happens is much deeper, is on the inside. And so the effect brings me then more and more, I call it the journey home actually, because I start realizing that many things that I learn on the yoga mat I can apply in real life, and I call it off the mat. So it will then, in the end, it will change me without me having to change actively. So I don't have to work towards a change because the change will happen anyway. And I think this is a quite fascinating thing with yoga. I can go on the yoga mat with the idea of, yes, I want to have a strong body, I want to have a nice looking body, but what actually happens is happening on a deeper level. And that's pretty amazing, I think.
Like those who are maybe not that familiar with yoga still, like how can we imagine, or how can we deeper understand that what really happens with ourselves when we are on the mat? Because you mentioned it will also like help with the, for example, the immune system, the endocrine system. So how could people who are not that familiar understand it?
Let's say let's start. I do so-called classic hatha yoga sessions, and there is quite a set sequence that we follow. But of course, I do variations depending on what people need, what people are able to do, what focus I want to set. And in a classic yoga class, I will always set a certain focus, not only on the physical level, but combine it somehow with a mental level, with an emotional level, to make people come on the yoga mat with a certain focus. And in the science of yoga, and I mean, it's thousands of years old, and the yogis in India have practiced this really for thousands of years. So I pretty believe in that it works, and I see it works on me, on myself, is that when I set this focus, I will have, it's like an acceleration is happening. Or when I do a certain yoga pose, like let's say I do a shoulder stand. Let's take one example. I go on the yoga mat, do a shoulder stand. I do squeeze my throat here. Because if you know how a shoulder stand is, you're holding your whole body on your shoulders, and you're holding it with your back with your hands. And your feet are up in the air. So you're squeezing your throat, and you have a lot of weight, all your body weight on your shoulders. Your whole body is upside down. So first what happens, one aspect is that your inner organs get a nice release, because they're not in the normal position, but they're upside down. It's nice for the heart, it's nice for the lungs, for your belly, for your intestines, for your liver, etc. Because everything is flowing the other way around. But especially in your throat, you squeeze your throat, you squeeze your thyroid gland. And you stimulate as well the glands, the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus in your brain, which are the master glands in your body. And what happens there is they are triggered, they will release, either they will release more hormones, or they will see, oh, in the past I've released too much, and they will balance themselves out. So especially in the thyroid, when I squeeze it for a while, it's like a garden hose that you're closing. So the water is on, and you just do this with a garden hose, and the pressure is building up. And once I release out of this yoga pose, out of the shoulder stand, I open the hose, and fresh blood, fresh prana, to the life force, fresh energy, fresh oxygen can rush into the thyroid gland, and therefore it gets, a fresh kick. It gets rejuvenated. It can work much better with less effort. So this is one little aspect that we follow in our yoga asanas, we call them, yoga poses. That's just one example that happens.
Yeah, I know, like, especially the aspect of the breathing is really important to you, and it's also what I really love, because when we moved to Portugal, we tried to visit so many different classes, and we were always like, no, something is missing, because it's somehow like so many yoga teachers, like in the modern style, they only do the asanas, so only the yoga poses, but they don't really combine all the other aspects. So what is it about breathing that's or the breathing exercises in yoga that are what is so special about them?
Breathing as such, even without yoga or without yoga poses, is special, because it's the bridge between the body and the mind. That's the one core aspect of the breathing. And the interesting thing with breathing is we do it if we think about it or not. So it's part of our autonomous nervous system. Hence, we breathe as well when we sleep. Yeah, it's like our heart is still beating. All our internal organs are working, even if we're sleeping. Even if we can't control them. I can't control how my liver works. I can't control how my kidneys work. They just work. And so they are ruled by the autonomous system, as so is the breathing. However, I can consciously choose as well how I breathe. I cannot consciously choose how my kidneys work. I can't take my conscious. I mean, yogis are able to do that, funny enough. They are able, or some are able to really influence directly how the liver or the kidneys, for example, work, or how the heart rate works. However, I and everybody on earth is able to control the breathing. So if I'm able, or as I'm able to control the breathing, I am controlling my inner organs, my nervous system. And this is a really easy test that anybody can do. When you start breathing in a certain way, let's say you breathe in, and you start breathing out a little bit more slowly than you have inhaled. You really take your time. And then you inhale again. Have a mini pause, and then slowly exhale again. What will happen is that your heart rate will slow down. If you want it or not, it will happen. And this is a fascinating thing about breathing. It's a two-way street. I will breathe in a certain way depending on how I feel. If I feel stressed, I know I'm breathing up here like, and it happens to me like probably like to everybody. However, I know that if I then consciously start breathing in a different way and put my breathing down into the lower parts of my lungs, pushing the diaphragm more down, breathing into the belly, I will calm down and the stress is not as bad anymore. So I will feel better. And this is a fascinating thing, that the breathing is ruling how our body functions and our whole system functions, or our bodies, not our physical body, but all our levels and emotional body and the energetic body, etc. And I can influence it myself as well. And this is the special thing about breathing, and this is something that is very healing. And this is something that I wish will be used and could be used, and I don't want to say should, but could be used much more as well in all sorts of life. Before we take a pill and some medication, then we can heal just through breathing as well.
Yeah, it's like I remember when I I remember something when I went to the doctor a few months ago for a general checkup. And actually, when I went to the gynecologist, I never actually had anyone testing how what my blood pressure is doing. So that was like the first doctor who actually checked it. And like I remember, like years back in Germany, I was always like super nervous when I went to the doctor, and like you said, like breathing starts to be faster, the heart rate goes up, and then I had this blood pressure, and so she tested the blood pressure, and I was like, yeah, okay, you know, just breathe. And really focus on your breath. And I just thought like you always say. And then she was like, oh my God, how is your blood pressure this way? It's amazing. And I was, I just breathe.
And for now, high blood pressure is one of the most common diseases in our civilized world. It's heart problems, high blood pressure.
Yeah, do you think like, well, of course it can be related to stress, and do you think it's also happening a lot because of the breathing, because you usually breathe at a way faster pace and not as deep as normal?
Yeah, it's a combination of so many factors. It's the question of the lifestyle, and if I have a stressful lifestyle, I know myself, I eat in a certain way, and it's not a healthy way. The stuff I eat and how I eat. So diet then plays a role. Then what am I doing all day? If I keep being occupied with something, being online, watching TV, watching news, doing this, and not calming down, of course, then this stays in my system. Yeah, and so the blood pressure can't go down. So it's a combination of many things. Then some people will say, yeah, it's the genetics as well. However, I think genetics might be one factor, but it's one factor of many. So it may not be an excuse to say, I can't do anything, it's my genes. I think that's a bit too easy. So if I start controlling my breathing, what I see happening is that suddenly I do calm down, and then I feel, I don't have this urge to eat chocolate because I have calmed down. or I don't have this urge to watch TV or Facebook or whatever. Oh, I don't need that anymore. And therefore, all the factors calm down, and then my blood pressure will change. So it's not only one factor, but the breathing does influence my whole system, and not only one aspect.
So if people are really busy and they are always hustling a lot and then trying to relax with like TV or Netflix or scrolling hours through Facebook, do you have any tip for them what they can actually do to relax a bit more? Because I know that so many think that if they don't work, it's something bad or something is going to happen and they don't achieve whatever they want to achieve, and then they need to keep themselves busy, and it's like they also can't really be alone themselves. So do we have any help for them, any advice what they might can, yeah, maybe what they can try?
Try yoga. Now, I was just thinking, like somebody who's very busy, and as you say, who's occupying himself, even if he's relaxing and he's watching something. It's a good example to say, watching Netflix, listening to music, it feels relaxing, but it doesn't relax your nervous system. It depends a little bit what you watch and what you listen to. However, proper relaxation, which will be the next blog post, by the way, proper relaxation means that I really shut down, and that's not easy. That can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels usually, I hear so many people telling me, yeah, but you know, if I just sit down and I sit there or I lay down, it's like wasted time.
Yeah, not only wasted time, because the brain then starts working hard, and then all the questions come up, and what should I do? And this is, and then the brain is doing this. So that's not healthy. If you're not, it's like a training, like a muscle training, actually. So you want to take it step by step and in little steps. And that's why I say start yoga, and I mean yoga on the yoga mat, because you do exercise. And most people who are active people, they do some sort of exercise anyway. So even if it's just running, swimming, or whatever, go out and exercise your body, because that already will calm down the mind a little bit. And if you exercise, if you go to the fitness studio, for example, or if you go running, leave your I just want to say Walkman, but this doesn't exist anymore. This is decades ago. Just keep your music device or whatever at home. Don't distract yourself from yourself. So if you go running, for example, leave the music thingies at home. If you're in the fitness studio, don't watch on the screen MTV or Netflix or whatever, in order to catch two flies in one go. Like I watch my Netflix and I do exercise at the same time. No. Exercise. And if you watch Netflix, watch Netflix. Do one thing at a time. So this is one thing. Because then you start learning how to focus. And on the yoga mat, that's the idea. So you do exercise. You might challenge yourself physically, which in the beginning is more than enough. And we incorporate the breathing, which brings you in the here and now. So that's what I would start with. And just the physical part. Everything else will come then step by step, until you then maybe enjoy sitting down in a sort of meditation. But as I said, if you're not used to that, don't start with that. You're going to be put off. It's too much. It's too much for yourself. You won't enjoy it, and you might really go nuts, which is not nice. And then you leave it all together. So take it step by step. And as I said, if you exercise, maybe stop doing something else at the same time. Do one thing at a time. And then maybe you start as well realizing, oh, that's the way I'm breathing. Interesting. And for the first time, you might feel that you're breathing at all, because this is something that happens since you were born. We take our first breath when we are born, and we take the last one when we die, and we never think about it. But putting your attention onto it, only that already has a tremendous effect. So that's another thing I would recommend.
Yeah, I think it's great you said like they can start, if you are really busy and an active person, to start with the physical exercises and with the yoga, because I think it releases so much pressure, because I feel so many people put so much pressure on themselves if they are like, yeah, you know, now I'm going to start meditate, and then it's like a big, yeah, it's really hard, a big step to actually manage that the mind isn't always constantly running.
Mhm. And that's another thing when you think of the next step, or one of the next step in yoga is meditation. But what is meditation? This is in so many. I think this is a word overused, because what does it mean, meditation? To me, meditation means I am in meditation. It's nothing I do. I go into it. I get into it, and not always. Even I can sit down for an hour and I wouldn't call it meditation because my mind then was working still. And meditation doesn't mean not to think. We don't have to chase away our thoughts. We don't have to change anything. We don't have to become a better or different person than the person we are. As I said in the beginning, to me, yoga is a journey back home. So I don't have to become, and I can't anyway. I can't become somebody that I'm not. And there's nothing to be achieved to try to become somebody that I'm not. A fish will never try to become an ape or a monkey, for example. Yeah, they are happy to be a fish, and the monkey is happy to be a monkey. So see where you are, who you are, and become the best of what you are anyway. And therefore said, when it comes to meditation, meditation is something that happens. Meditation is nothing I do. And especially in the beginning, when you are interested in starting to meditate, just sit down and watch your thoughts. Just become aware that you think. And even before you become aware that you think, maybe scan through your body. Become aware that you've got a big toe. Oh, you've got two. One right, one left foot. So just become aware of what your body feels like. And you're going to discover a lot that you've never felt. And that's just your physical body. Then you come to your breathing and you start feeling, oh, there's air going through my right and left nostril. And then at some point you might discover that through one nostril there's more air going than through the other, which is absolutely natural. It's changing through the day. And then you become aware that, oh, I feel there's room. When I breathe in, there's more room than if I breathe out. Just becoming aware of what is. And I guarantee you, when you do this for just 2 minutes, then you're in meditation. Because then you're focused. And before you're in meditation, it's more, I call it more contemplation and concentration. These are the steps that happen before you go into meditation anyway. So start just with that. Just become aware that you breathe, not even how, or don't try to breathe in a certain way. Just become aware, oh, I'm breathing. Oh, interesting. And then you become aware, oh, I'm thinking. Well, that's a thought. There's another. Oh, they're still running all through my head all the time. Just become aware. There is an instance in you that can watch that you're breathing, that can watch your body, that can watch that you're thinking. And then the next step is that you become aware that you feel. That you feel in a certain way. Yeah? Happy, sad, tired, angry, furious, relaxed. These are all emotional states. And the same instance that is watching your body and your thoughts is watching your feelings. It becomes aware that they constantly change, just like your thoughts.
Yes, I think it's amazing to really like you said, like start just observing that you breathe and like how your body feels, and even then the thoughts, and without judging, and then also really like starting to really notice how you feel, how your body feels, what your emotions are like, because if you are like constantly busy, you might not even notice anything, and you might not even notice maybe that you want to change something in life, that you are unhappy, that you are happy about something. So it's like kind of we let our emotions like kind of be numb, because we are always chasing after whatever is we're chasing after.
Yeah, and I think we constantly try to feel it in a different way, in a certain way. Mm-hmm. There are feelings that we really like about ourselves, and there are other feelings that we don't like. And in general, we call them positive and negative feelings. And that's another thing. If I get into that now, that will really be a long evening. But I don't believe in positive thinking or in positive and negative feelings. Feelings are just a state I feel like. And positive, negative is already a judgment. And yes, we do judge. And as I said, when we start observing ourselves, we shall do that without judging. That's a big, big challenge, because we will judge. I know myself, I do judge. I do judge my feelings, I do judge the behavior of others, and that's nothing I can stop easily. But what I can do easily is becoming aware that I'm judging. And that's all I need to do. Because if I tell myself I watch without judging, that puts already pressure on myself. And that is already, again, a judgment. Because I judge myself that I'm judging. But once I become aware, oh, I'm judging. Interesting. It's a bit of an approach like a scientist. Yeah, a scientist is neutral. He just wants to find out the truth. He wants to find out what's behind, he wants to find out what he doesn't know yet. But he won't judge is it a good thing or a bad thing. He's not interested if it's good or bad. He's just interested in what it is. That he can't see yet, that he can't prove yet. He just wants to prove. And if you go into this observation about yourself with this approach, like, I'm a scientist, oh, that's interesting. I don't like what I see, but still it's interesting. Then it becomes a bit easier. And then you're a bit kinder to yourself. This judgment is a hard thing. We all do it. And to me, it's a good training to say, it's really, oh, interesting. I've judged again. Oops, I did it again. And the more often I do that, then the judgmental behavior or the judgment will disappear because I allow it.
So even with all the judging and with all the busyness, do you think sometimes even people kind of run away from what is really going on? So maybe they're afraid of letting go something or facing something because they keep themselves busy. So they actually are still busy and they don't have to deal with stuff.
Oh, definitely. But I think that happens on a quite subconscious level. Yeah, busyness definitely is, I don't want to say is, I think my perception, if I keep myself busy, then it's hard for me to spend time with myself. Because something might come up that I don't like, that I'm afraid of. So that's my theory. And I know that for myself. And meanwhile, now I love to spend time with myself. I love to discover what comes up. But this is because I've done it quite a lot of times. And the beautiful thing is, the darker the stuff is that comes up, the more beauty is below that. So I know when something comes up that I don't like about myself or some tricky situation, and I meditate on it, I know there is beauty underneath that. This comes with my experience. So I can only encourage everybody to slow down and to dare it, because nothing will kill you. It sounds stupid to say it's all up in your head, but in the end it is. In the end, it's all up in our head. And any thought that runs through my mind, any feeling that I have, it's just a thought and just a feeling. There is a place within all of us that can't be hurt, that can't be killed, even if I die. And becoming aware of that, that's part of yoga. Maybe coming back to what the beauty about yoga, the more I practice yoga, the more I practice everything that belongs to the practical, to the physical part of yoga, like breathing, pranayama, meditation. I become more and more aware of that, and that is building in tremendous trust for my life, because there's not much I'm really afraid of. Especially now, we are in this very special situation worldwide with the COVID-19. And one thing I can't find within myself, and I question myself quite a lot about it, because sometimes I feel surprised about it myself. I don't feel afraid at all, because I know I'm looked after. And this trust is something that is worth a lot, especially now, definitely. Yeah. So I can look inside. If something comes up, I just have a look at it. Look, it sounds easy. I just have a look at it. It is challenging, definitely. It's very challenging. But as I said, there's always beauty underneath.
Yeah, I love what you said about there's always beauty underneath. And I would so love if you could repeat what you told everyone in the class on Tuesday, because like it's a big topic
Yes.
for so many people. So about letting go, and I think it matches really good with looking deeper.
Yeah, yeah. We had on the yoga class on Tuesday, we had the focus on twists, and the idea how to approach the twists came up during that day. Because I once had done a yoga class myself where the teacher as well had the twists, and he was always emphasizing on what are you turning towards, what is your asset, what do you want to turn towards to, and I thought, no, that's not enough. And then it came up to me, it's like if I turn towards something, so I'm twisting and I'm turning, I turn not only towards something, but I turn away from myself in the end, or from where I am. And often these are the things I don't want to deal with. Like, I mean, you all know that I don't want to deal with something and I get away from it in whatever way. For example, I don't want to have a discussion with my partner, watch TV or walk away or something like that. And to me, it's so important not only to see where do I want to go, but where am I now? If I don't appreciate where and who I am right now here, I will neglect a part of myself. And if it's a part that I don't like, it doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter if I like it or not. It's still me or part of me. So it's good to have a look first. Where am I now? What do I feel like now? What is this all about now? And then from there, and if I'm fine with that, if I can embrace all that, if I can put that into my heart, then the step to move away from it becomes easier. So the twist physically becomes easier as well. And another aspect that we had was not only that I turn away from myself and that I turn towards something else or to a new aspect in my life, but I do circle or I do twist around myself in the end. So that proves I can't really get away from myself, even if I want to. So why not appreciate where I am now, and then the evolving and the evolvement and the development where I want to go will unfold anyway. Because we all, I think, consciously or unconsciously, we all strive to something higher, to something else, to, in yoga we call it enlightenment. I wouldn't even say myself that I strive to be enlightened, but I know I strive to something. And what I've learned as well, I don't need to constantly try to get there, to push the river. I can be who I am and be that fully. And the evolvement happens by itself. It's nearly as if I'm then gently pushed into the right direction. So I don't have to try to get there. I get there anyway, and much easier. So this is what we're experimenting with spinal twists on Tuesday, how to make them easy and open, and not trying to squeeze in there.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of this. And I think that's like a great outro to start with, like the 3 last questions I ask anyone. And like the first thing I would really love to know is like, is there a certain book or podcast or anything you really love to look into again and again, or really like to watch or read or even do to really like learn more about anything you like yoga or freediving, anything?
I have my favorite author, and I wouldn't say she's my meditation teacher, but I've done 2 seminars with her, and I come back to her principles and to her teachings again and again and again in all aspects of my life. This is Safi Nidiaye. She has implemented methods. I wouldn't call it a meditation method. It's more in German it's körperzentrierte Herzensarbeit. In English she's calling it shortcut to happiness, the 10 keys to the heart. And it is a sort of meditation method that you do in pairs. So one is guiding and one is being guided through the meditation, and that helps and has helped me tremendously to get to know myself, to find out even stuff about my ancestors without them being still alive, without asking my family, which has unfolded emotional stuff that was really, really buried down in very deep parts of myself. And it's a simple method where you learn how to feel your feelings and how to allow any feeling. And it goes down to feelings like, I call them the three bad guys. It's fear, guilt, and shame. These are, I think, the three feelings and emotions nobody really wants to talk about. Maybe fear is something, yes, we want to get out. Oh, I don't do this because of fear. But when it comes to guilt, nobody would talk that he feels guilty or that he feels ashamed. And especially feeling ashamed is one of those emotions. Because we are ashamed, so we don't talk about it. And we don't see its emotions. What I learned with her is that most of our feelings we mistaken as facts. We think it's the situation that is to be blamed. That's why I feel like that. That's not the case. The situation is just the trigger, and to show us our feelings, to guide us to our feelings. And this method helps really to acknowledge and to bring each and every feeling into my heart and make life much easier and more enjoyable. So yes, I listen to her a lot and I read her books. I have nearly all of her books and I've read them 2-3 times already. And I keep reading them. And talking about her and bringing her aspects into many of my yoga classes and a lot into my freediving classes as well.
It even reminds me in many ways of mindfulness. And is there a saying or a quote or any sentence you really love and maybe even live by?
I mean, I have one here on the wall here. That is probably one, but I think there are more than that. And there's one that says we should, in our life, it's lovely, and we should much more do things that don't have any goal. They don't need to be worth anything, and we won't get anything for them. So in the end, it's play. Yeah, we should play more in life. That's maybe one phrase that is quite important to me. There's many more, but can't think of any in particular now. I think that's one of the most important ones. Let's play more.
And the last question I really love, is there anything like you would love to give people in the world if you had like a magical wand?
Yeah, common sense. And the idea that through breathing, for example, they empower themselves. I think we can empower ourselves much more than we think. And especially at the moment, this is something I want to remind everybody about. We are not only dependent on a vaccine, we are not only dependent on the regulations from the governments, we can empower ourselves on a much deeper level.
Yeah, I love what you said. So thank you so much, Antje, for being here in the podcast. And if anyone now who is listening would love to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I love that they find me on the island of Gozo in person, offline. At the moment, it's more online. You either just go on my website, gozofreediving.com. There you find as well the section for online yoga. Or you just find my YouTube videos. I've become a YouTuber, funny enough, which I still find funny. And I start enjoying producing YouTube videos. So if you just put my name on YouTube, you will find my channel under Antje Lewerenz. And on Facebook, you find the page Water, Earth, Air. Or you just have a look on Facebook under my name. Then you find me.
Thank you so much again, and really make sure to check out Antje's YouTube channel and her blog, and I really think it comes so naturally when you do this. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'm so excited to launch this podcast episode.
Me too. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Lisa. And I was so happy when you asked me, would you like to come on the podcast? I thought, what? Podcast? Yes, why not? Thank you a lot for this great opportunity. I do appreciate it a lot. Lots of love to Portugal.